What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another Epic 7 video. We have some exciting news to discuss today, a few different topics. Let's go ahead and begin with the latest one, which is the balance adjustment preview. We're going to be getting the early notice here. Unfortunately, it is a delay, but there is some good news about that, which we'll cover here in just a second. Later on, we'll jump into the data mines for both the newest characters, Elvira and Dragon King Sharun, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Down here, if you notice, we are getting this balance patch early, this preview. However, the official exact notes of what's getting buffed, what's getting changed, won't happen until January 9th on Tuesday. So like 3 or 4 days later than normal. Usually we get these on Friday morning. But as an apology, they're going to give us the list early. So let's go ahead and just take a quick look here. I don't want to speculate too much on what's going to happen, but I do want to ask you guys, as always, what you think of the list after we discuss this. Is there anyone missing? Are you excited for this? And all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and start perusing here. Looks like we have 3 Moonlight 5 stars, Judge Kise, Specimen Says, and Spirit Eye Celine. I think these two definitely are not in the best spot. They've been tried to, Smilegate tries to buff them every now and then. Both of these characters, I believe, have gotten multiple rounds of buffs, and they never truly make it into, like the top level meta, which is fine, but they do definitely need a touch up. Not every character has to be busted overpowered. However, I don't think anyone would argue that these two units definitely could use some love, right? Judge Kise, I'm curious what they give her. She's a unit that's very scary to buff because, people with insane gear in her current iteration can either like full reset you or full cleave you. Specimen Says, I feel like people that are super dedicated can make him look nice. But you're about to see, guys, when we cover the newest units, Elvira and Dragon King Sharun, some of their kits might impact Specimen Says unless they kind of change how he works with the stuns and all that. Spirit Eye Celine is an interesting one. I don't think anyone would say she's overpowered. However, compared to the other two units above, I do think she's in a much better spot. A lot of people still use her a ton in areas like Guild Wars. She can be usable in real-time arena. You just have to pick her a lot safer in a later pick spot because she does have a lot of hard counters. That being said, I think her recent buff, which was not too long ago, made her a lot more consistent. And so I think she really just needs a few more quality of life touch-ups to make her, maybe make her a little bit safer to pick. Maybe stronger to address certain units that are, very strong in the current meta. And then I think she'll be in a great spot here. So I don't mind this overall, but honestly, between these two, I would have liked to see like Blood Moon Haste, who is absolutely unusable, whereas Spirit Eye Celine is, she's in a pretty decent spot, all things considered. But I'm not too upset with that. Another unit for me personally would be like Sage Vivian is one I want to see. But just like Spirit Eye Celine, she's not in the worst spot either. I think she is worse than Spirit Eye Celine, though. Currently. But yeah, let me know who you guys want for the 5-star Moonlights beyond Blood Moon Haste, because I think most of us here are just waiting for Blood Moon Haste to be usable again. Beyond that, though, we have hwayoung, which is interesting. Maybe they're just going to revert some of the nerfs she got way back when, because they did kind of gut her kit. I think right now she's actually very, very strong, right? When your opponent plays too slow, too tanky, she's still a huge threat here, so this could be very, very scary. Elena, same thing, where she's in a good spot overall. Always kind of comes back into the meta depending on what your opponents bring, especially with like big AoE. She does have a very strong cleanse on skill 1. So if they give her any more additional like utility or healing, I could see her being really, really powerful in this upcoming season. After that is command model Leica, which, this has never been my kind of unit. I have seen some people pull off some crazy stuff. And remember, guys, this is just the 5-star Covenant hero, not the Moonlight Leica. However, yeah, I do think depending on what they give her here, I have been destroyed by some very, very scary Leicas that players really dedicate to. Beyond that, for the 4-star Moonlight heroes, we have auxiliary lots. Maybe they're going to try to make him more than a one-trick pony, right? Just CR boost some big cleaver. Maybe give him some damage on his own, or maybe give him even more utility. Who knows? Beyond that, we have Infinite Horizon Acades, which I'm very excited to see. I think Acades is such a unique hero. The main way to use it right now, though, is if your opponent does have heavy debuffs. If you're able to cleanse those right with her big skill 3, she can high roll some of the best buffs in the game, but it is really random. And beyond that, she really doesn't bring too much to the table. A lot of times you want to just bring a safer cleanser that brings, more healing to the table. But I do think one of her biggest selling points at the moment is her combat readiness push. So, yeah, any love they give to her kit as well, I could see her being very strong too. Roman, I'm not super interested in this hero. I think he's been buffed multiple times. His Moonlight counterpart got buffed as well. But I could see if he continually gets some love, he could kind of be scary. I think he's a debuff heavy hero if I remember correctly. And then for the 3-star Covenants, I've always mentioned, if you ever heard me cast any of the Epic 7 tournaments, a lot of times a Montmorency will pop up and a lot of people are surprised. She's always a nice, or I should say a niche pick when your opponent has super, super heavy debuffs. Units like Mediator Kawerk, for example, are considered to be like one of the best cleansers. Units like maybe Destina, anything that, you know, that you normally see for Soul Weavers or cleansing, Montmorency you don't see as often. However, in terms of throughput, meaning the amount of stuff she can cleanse on a continuous basis, low downtime, she is one of the best cleansers at that. So when your opponent has a very, very high amount of debuffs that are consistent, like Solitaria, for example, Angelic Montmorency is huge. And if they give her even more buffs, I think she could be a main staple. So kind of excited for that as well. And then the artifacts here, Circus Fantasia, Manic Control, and Sacred Tree Branch with his Sharun, says his artifact, and then Mui's. Yeah, I don't want to speculate too much on these, but we'll see them when they come out. I like these choices, though. They're not really seen too often. And then let's see, just a few comments. No blooming. Oh, that's right. Unlike Biblis buff, which happened very soon, a lot of people are speculating that blooming Lidica will not get any buffs before we saw this today because, you know, her sales are very good. I don't know how true that is. Let me know what you guys think about that situation. But yeah. A lot of people speculate, you know, when a unit's banner sells well, even if the unit is under buffed and does deserve buffs, Smallgate may not buff them in time, you know, because they already made the money. But beyond that, guys, I'm excited for Tuesday. Let me know what you think about these, and let's jump over to the data mines. All right, guys, next up, let's go ahead and talk about the data mines for both Elvira and Dragon King Sharun. We didn't get to see their previews, but we have their full skill sets here. As always with data mines, things are subject to change, but usually these are credible, so thank you to username Sniped on the Reddit. Let's go ahead and check these out. So first up, we have Elvira, who has a self-imprint of attack and imprint concentration of effect resist. So keep that in mind, especially the effect resist portion. Her skill 1 here, hit and run, has a, let's see, after skill enhancement, 10, 15, 100% chance to dispel 1 buff on the skill 1. And then also you can soul burn that to get an extra turn, right? So when fully skill enhanced, we do dispel a buff. And then we can also soul burn that for extra turn given 20 souls. The skill 2, the passive, I have kind of been spoiled on this. People have been saying she's kind of insane here, but let's give it a read through. So with skill enhancements, we have a bonus for 8, 12, 15, 20% effect resist. So quite a lot of effect resist just passively here on the skill 2. And when attacking, cannot trigger a critical hit. Okay, so no crits allowed for Elvira. When the caster is immortal, decreases the amount of fighting spirit gained by the enemy by 100%. All right, there it is. A lot of people have been predicting that either the balance patch or one of these newer units will address units like Abyssal Euphine, Fighting Spirit units directly. Think of it like Solitaria kind of countering focus units, Bellion countering souls. She will completely negate this, I guess, when she's immortal. So we're going to see what activates immortality. But if this is a good way for, if she can do this reliably, this is an insanely powerful kit, insanely powerful unit that will just sort of negate any fighting spirit heroes. So anyone with fighting spirit that's not Abyssal Euphine, they're also going to kind of get put in the target, put in the, take some straight bullets here, I should say. So yeah, these are always powerful effects. Let's see what else she's doing here. After using a basic skill on the caster's turn, when the caster is immortal, activates Exterminate as an extra attack. Only happens once per 2 turns, and then this will become an AoE, attacks all enemies, inflicting Beguile, which, as we know, I think from, is Lua the only one with this? But if you don't know what Beguile does, at the end of the turn, deals additional damage to allies except for the bear, equivalent to 10% of their respective max health. And this thing really adds up. So it doesn't seem like Elvira's going to do a ton of damage. You probably want to start stacking effect resist between her passive, between imprint concentration. I'm assuming so that our immortality doesn't get stripped. But let's see our skill 3, Capturing Sacrifice. Attacks the enemy, disabling all buffs. Wow. Before making them unhealable for 2 turns and grants immortality to the caster for 3. So here we go. Here's how we get into immortality. Penetrates the target's defense. When the target is a hero, damage dealt increases proportional to the target's current health. Okay. Very interesting. I'm curious how much this does. This kind of strikes me like Zio's effect. It doesn't say it's like health scaling or health lost. It's just, I guess, their current health. So the higher health they have, the more it'll do. Beyond that, I guess this is wording. Yeah, I think this is worded exactly like Zio's. But we do have a defense pen here, 100%. Immortality and Unhealable. So yeah, very, very strong into units like Abyssal Euphine because we're going to stop her fighting spirit. And Unhealable is a nice, very powerful debuff to stack on top of that. Sorry, I'm kind of thinking in the background here. So we want to build her with a ton of effect resist, probably some decent amount of speed too. That way we can get into this immortality and hopefully just not get stripped. We do have to watch out for units that can ignore effect resist, which there are plenty of. But barring that, we have, how long was it? 3 turns of immortality with a 1-turn cooldown. So we only 4 turns. We only have 1 off turn that we have to survive. Otherwise, we are almost always keeping up that immortality and also always negating the fighting spirit. So I think Elvira overall, she may not do the most damage, but she has some good utility between the Beguile, between the big nuke here, between the unhealable. Had a little bit of AoE on top of that too. And then she also can, you know, strip some buffs between the skill 3 and skill 1. So not like a typical thief, but a anti-resource, anti-fighting spirit, I should say, with a bit of utility on top of that. So anyone that plays real-time arena, PvP heavy, you got to pick up this unit no matter what. The artifact here gives more effect resist too. Very, very nice. So between the passive now, the imprint concentration, now the artifact, after using an attack except for a basic skill, when a non-critical hit is made, removes 20 soul from the enemy. Soul removal can be activated once every 4 turns. Okay. Soul reduction on top of that too, guys. So anti-fighting spirit, soul reduction, and we can stack a ton of fighting spirit. Or sorry, stack a ton of effect resist to negate fighting spirit. Yeah, I think it's going to be a utility unit that you're going to use to counter problem units like Abyssal Fiend. Unfortunately, a lot of fighting spirit units are going to be, you know, also countered by this. So it's going to get a little bit tougher for those of you that play certain units. But I think this is probably what a lot of people were asking for to combat the current meta. Let's go to the next unit here. Dragon King Sharun, the Soul Weaver, the Light Soul Weaver, our next Moonlight 5-star. We have attack, self-imprint, and effectiveness, imprint concentration. Skill 1, turtle flipping. That's a cool name. Attack the enemy with a 30% chance to stun, which will be 40% total. Stuns are always very, very powerful. Her skill 2 looks like a passive. At the start of the turn, dispels all debuffs which prevent movement, which is stun and sleep, from all allies. At the start of the turn, huh? So just whenever she takes a turn, you are you dispel all stuns and sleeps. Wow, that's pretty interesting. At the end of someone's turn, when an ally is inflicted with a debuff which prevents movement, the end of someone's turn, increases combat resistance cast by 20% and grants Cascade to all allies once per turn. After attacking, deals 2,500 fixed damage to the target, dispelled after attacking. Wow, really, really cool. So we kind of want to just bring her whenever we fight units that have you know, a stun or a sleep, which honestly is quite a lot in the current meta. You look at the most powerful units like Death Dealer Ray. I know people have been playing like Shuna, Arwell, you know, one of the best stuns, and we can kind of use Dragon King Sharun here as a counter pick as well. So we probably don't want to use this unit proactively. Instead, we want to wait to see, right, stuns and sleeps, debuffs which prevent movement, and then we'll get some pretty good value here, it seems like. Skill 3 is going to rain. Attacks all enemies with the power of the Divine Dragon, decreasing buff duration for 2 turns. That's very, very strong. Just like her green counterpart. Before at 80%, which will be, yep, 20%. So 100% chance to inflict class debuff for 2 turns. Which for Thief, Warrior, Rangers, and Mages decreases attack break, and then Knights and Soul Weavers decrease defense. Wow, interesting. This is like the opposite of a Troublemaker Crozet, right? We're going to use this offensively instead of defense or supporting. So 2 turns, decrease combat readiness by 20%, and then increase combat readiness of the caster. Between the combat readiness here, excuse me, and the combat readiness on skill 3, just like Green Sharun, a lot of combat readiness cycling. Skill 3 seems very powerful on its own. It does have a long cooldown, though, 4 turns here. But, yeah, I think as long as we bring her into stuns and sleeps, she seems like she'll bring a lot of value. And this is kind of what I was referencing for units like Specimen says, right? Which is already hard to set up stuns. Now we have units like Dragon King Sharun, which might, you know, inadvertently hurt units that aren't in the meta, that are kind of just for fun. Elvira, the same thing. Yes, she will combat, it seems like, Abyssal Fiend very, very well, for example. A problem unit for sure. But I think she's also going to hurt a lot of other units that people play for fun additionally, right? Fighting spirit units that aren't overpowered. But yeah, guys, I think we'll wrap things up there. We'll take a look at their official previews when they come out. Extra lore and stuff here. There's some multipliers for y'all. Thank you for this Reddit post. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I guess Oh, Veronica. Good point here from Lustful Rose. Veronica, which was what I think the first 4-star revealed in the new episode. She has some anti-immortality tech and lore-wise too, like Step Brothers. These names. Step Brothers saying, right? Vampires versus vampire hunters. That's actually really cool from Smilegate. But yeah, we'll wrap things up there, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.